While there's always going to be weapons in first-person shooter games that are considered the tip of the spear, if you will, there's also something to be said for weapons that are simply easy to use. You pick them up, you start blasting, and they hardly ever fail you. And sometimes, these weapons are often going to emerge in the strangest of little places in a game's arsenal. In Battlefield 6, this is no exception. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our weapon review of the DRS-IAR, an LMG, or dare I say a budget LMG, hiding in an assault rifle trench coat that is quickly spread across Battlefield 6's community as one of the most dependable and reliable weapons you can get your hands on. Today, we're going to give you guys a complete rundown on the stats for this thing, going over the pros, the cons, and then of course, wrapping up with some weapon builds that really gets this thing purring like a kitten. If you're enjoying the series so far, a like on the video goes a long way, and getting subscribed means that you'll never miss a future weapon review either. But alright, with all that said and done, let's get straight into the review. As is tradition with our format here, we're going to kick off with the damage model, and for the first time in a while here on the series, we aren't actually starting off with what I would necessarily call the star of the show on this weapon. The DRS kicks off with a pretty average 25 damage within the 25 meter mark, giving it a pretty consistent 4-shot kill out to an also dependable and impressive distance. Funnily enough, this is actually the first weapon that we've reviewed in the series so far that sees a maximum damage model extend out this far. It doesn't beat out second place by much, only by 5 meters, but it does beat it, which is a nice little bonus to this weapon and how it operates. The damage tapers off to 20 until the 75 meter mark, before dropping to 16.7 beyond that 75 meter distance accordingly, dropping us to a 6-shot kill at those more extreme ranges. However, given that we only drop 2 bullets to kill between the pointy end of town and the slapping games of longer range firefighting, this actually makes for a pretty consistent damage profile that makes the DRS really competent at medium range. Headshot wise, we see 1 bullet shaved off at every engagement distance on the weapon, which ain't exactly the most attractive deal out there for going for headshots, especially if you have to aim at a significantly smaller part of the target to reap the rewards. It's a nice bonus, don't get me wrong, but it's not some blessing from the gods that will regularly change the outcome of a fight if you try to employ it. Which leads us onto the time to kill stats for the DRS here. If we take the modest fire rate of 771 rounds per minute, we're left with a 233 millisecond time to kill within the 25 meter range, 322 milliseconds within that 25 to 75 meter range, and 477 milliseconds beyond that 75 meter mark. Now, it's nothing groundbreaking like what we saw with the SCW-10 after our last review, and weapons with sharper bites are most certainly going to take the DRS to Pound Town and leave it there shaking after they're done with it. However, much like the damage numbers alluded to earlier, where this weapon really starts to shine is in its medium range prowess with that time to kill, as it remains incredibly consistent despite the ranges in which the time to kill is applied. The moment you start taking a literal couple steps back away from your enemies to where their damage numbers start to drop, that's when your sweet spot really kicks in. And with that in mind, it's not like the DRS makes this necessarily hard to do either. Allow me to draw your attention, folks, to the recoil chart for this weapon, just to get a load of how bloody accurate this thing is under a full burst of fire. Remembering that all of my weapon graphs are drawn to scale to one another, this is the first long rifle weapon that we've looked at so far that just barely cracks the red zone of the recoil map here, even after a full mag dump. With that, it would be reminiscent of me not to mention the bloom accuracy of the weapon here either. Even after a full burst, and I do mean a full mag dump burst, there are very few weapons in this game that can maintain that kind of accuracy under a straight up mag dump. So yeah, the whole piece about dropping targets at medium range, the weapon's recoil makes this extremely easy to do. The hipfire, on the other hand, is less of a happily ever after story and more of a train wreck, unfortunately. I actually had to decrease the size of my graph here for this weapon to fit the readings into the graphic, but I really just wanted to illustrate how bad this thing's hipfire was, and cutting it off wasn't actually going to do that justice. This thing hipfires like the town drunk after he's been to the Thursday night happy hour, and it's not even worth considering using out of the box. Reload wise, we have a pretty solid reload time here of 2.47 seconds, which I believe actually makes this the fastest reloading weapon in the LMG category, but that also makes sense given it is one of 2 of light support weapons in the category right now, so that's kind of like winning the Paralympics as a fully abled body, but hey, I might as well bring it up anyway. Wrapping things up, we have an ADS speed of 367 milliseconds, which is pretty savage out of the box here, but a muzzle velocity of 720 meters per second, which, as you might have picked up on here, is once again playing right into the weapon's Goldilocks zone of being a medium-range firearm. And look, with all that said and done, guys, there's a reason that this thing has quickly stolen the show for a lot of players in the Battlefield community, and the stats kind of show that too. In all honesty, this thing is just this game's king of consistency, a weapon that you could put your weight into and really depend on to perform in most, if not all, situations that you throw it at. Within reason, of course. If I'm being completely honest, ahead of this past week's gunplay fixes, the DRS was really the best assault rifle in the game, despite sitting in the LMG category. And even post-update, it's still a key competitor for that title. The amount of times that I've managed to beam the poor, overly cocky son of a bitch who thinks he's at a safe distance from me, only for me to whip out the Beam-A-Tron 9000 that is the DRS-IAR and floor them as though they were in a shotgun range, has simply been far too often to count, and quite frankly, one of the more satisfying things I've done in this game so far. You really don't need to be afraid to play a bit slower with this weapon. All of the other weapons that we've looked at so far in the weapon review series have certainly lent a bit more into the aggressive side as far as playstyle goes, so this was a solid change of pace for me to enjoy the game at a bit of a calmer, dare I say, more calculated pace. For once, I didn't feel like 4 rabid raccoons in a trench coat. It was strange. I had to actually play a bit slower and play to a medium range weapon's strengths, which was nice. One thing I definitely needed to keep reminding myself about, however, was that I am not using a true LMG here. While yes, it is categorized as one, its 30-round mag is limiting and does not let you go on the kind of suppressing fire rampages that a typical LMG would let you do. I know that sounds like a painfully obvious tip here, I get it, but I'll also be the first to admit that I have bitten off far more than I can chew with this thing on a couple of occasions, which has been my undoing with it. Further to that, one thing you can get away with here with a bit with this weapon is just holding down the trigger for a couple more shots than you may otherwise be used to. I mean, you guys saw it earlier, right? This weapon's bloom is incredibly limited unless you really let loose, and I mean really let loose. So where other weapons who are fighting in your engagement range may need to start bursting a little earlier, you can simply keep the pressure on and take that advantage, because that means that as their rounds start flying all over the place, yours remain accurate, which means that you'll get the upper hand in firefights where your DPS may be a touch weaker. But speaking of getting the upper hand here, how about we take a moment to go over some weapon builds that take the DRS-IAR from being the king of consistency to an unstoppable menace. I have 3 builds for you guys here today, one being just my general high-level beamer kit that it just farms lobbies away like there's no tomorrow, another being a kit that implements a crop detector 9000 to turn you into an extremely deadly turret, and for those who just have to run this like an LMG, I've got a budget LMG kit for you as well. Don't say I don't look after you guys, seriously. Our first build here today is made up of an ROS 1.25x sight, a 16.5-inch heavy LSW barrel, the light and suppressor, stippled stubby grip, 30-round fast mag, and FMJ ammo. And look, if I'm being honest here, guys, this build is just about as run-of-the-mill as you can get on a gun when it comes to late-game attachments. A build that simply tries to play off the gun's highly adaptable nature and completely annihilate any remaining recoil possible to turn it into one gigabeam of a weapon. And truth be told, the results here that you can score really do speak for themselves. The 30-round fast mag also further steps the weapon into more of an assault rifle role here by eliminating some of that reload time, and it kind of charges it more as a medium range spearhead kind of a weapon with that improved reload speed. But you're of course still going to be limited by the ADS speed, so just do your best to keep that in mind with the weapon here. Off the back of that, I will also mention here that the hipfire on this thing, post attachments, it doesn't get better with the build. It actually gets worse by some metrics, which means that you had better get damned used to aiming down sights in every firefight you get into with this thing. You best believe that if you want to hipfire with the DRS, you better just be about planting your barrel of your weapon so far down your enemy's throats that you could be mistaken as their next barrel movement. And just to save us all some time with the next few builds here, it's the same story across the board. Do not use hipfire. And I mean, look, with this next build here, speaking of, that only becomes more important since that hip firing completely eliminates this build's party piece. This time around, we're including a grim 1.50x thermal sight, the 20-inch extended heavy barrel, light and suppressor, slim angled grip, and the standard 30-round mag and FMJ ammo. And look, I'll be straight up honest with you guys here. If you ever are in the mood to cosplay as a turret, or maybe even a Call of Duty kill streak, then do yourself a favor and take this build, set up on an angle somewhere around the 30 to 40 meter meter mark away from enemies, particularly on a breakthrough game mode. Plant up, take your hand off the movement input, and just sit there, farming away. The combination of the thermals and the suppressor means that you're not only going to spot everyone before they spot you, but you're also going to stay off the map while you do it. The right flank with this exact kit has won me so many games single-handedly, and that kind of power cannot be understated here. Ultimately, this is what happens when you become a Call of Duty sentry gun killstreak, only it's both fun to use and actually produces some real neuron activation. Seriously, you are doing yourself a disservice by not taking the Crop Detector 9000, which is of course the thermal sight, and the Beam-A-Tron 9000, which is the DRS-IAR, and combining the two. It is a diabolical setup. But by that token, I also understand that some of you out here really want to use this weapon as its category demands you to, as an LMG. It's okay, I've got you lads covered as well with my budget LMG kit here. Today, we're going to be rocking the SU-231 1.50 times sight, the 16.5 inch heavy LSW barrel, the flash hider, the alloy vertical grip, the 50 round mag, and the tungsten core ammo. These are all the stars of the show for this kit. And I'll be honest with you guys, as far as the attachment point economy goes and getting the most out of the weapon, the most bang for your buck, if you will, this really ain't it. You are spending a lot of points for the increase in mag size that you can otherwise get for free with other MGs in the arsenal that you can then turn them into absolute laser beams. But I also understand that sometimes it's just fun to be a little silly and go off the beaten path. That's okay. And with this DRS build, I won't lie, cutting down squads at a time with it, with what is essentially meant to be an AR trench coating as an LMG, is just stupid good fun. So the build also gets a feature for those who are interested in it. But folks, with all of that said, that is going to wrap up today's weapon review of the DRS-IAR LMG in Battlefield 6. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have been enjoying the series more broadly. If you guys want to catch up with all of our previous weapon reviews, I've left a link to the playlist in the description down below, so go give that a watch if you're looking for more content like this. But if you enjoyed the video first, be sure to backhand the like button, and if you're new here, get subscribed for more content like this. We've got a lot more Battlefield 6 stuff on the way very, very shortly. And as a reminder, guys, if you want to come join our awesome community, feel free to come follow us over on Twitch, follow me on Twitter, and also come check out our community Discord, all linked in the description down below. With that said and done, guys, I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out, and I'll catch you guys next time. Have a good one, guys. Take care.